presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen live here in Florham Park as of Friday as the Jets are set to practice in about 30 minutes in their final practice before Week 7's matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. We have a loaded show today. We're going to dive into Jets-Vikings in a bit, but we also are going to show you a snippet of Sam Darnold's miking. He was clipped up. He was mic'd up at the against the Indianapolis Colts, and we're going to show a snippet of that. Full video on NewYorkJets.com.
I want to go back to the flag first off.
Okay.
I know you got your introduction here, but we always start practice today, I think, out here at One Jets Drive on the flag. And today it really wasn't whipping, but on Sunday it will. 17-mile-per-hour wind gusts at MetLife Stadium, and you know the Vikings in that passing offense, they like to have perfect conditions. It won't be perfect on Sunday.
Also, if you go to the stadium, you might get a Hulk bobblehead, or this could look like EA when there's no more pumpkin spice.
Yes, I get very angry when I don't have any pumpkin spice, but I thought you were just going to say it looks like EA, and I'll take that compliment anything.
No, only when there's no pumpkin spice.
Listen, the first 15,000 in attendance will be able to get the bobblehead who are attending the Jets-Vikings game, and I believe they're also giving out comic book covers as well.
The Jets are going to be in all green. They're going to be neon green, yep, like their old Color Rush jerseys, and I mentioned Sam Darnold. He's in focus every week because he's the quarterback of the New York Jets, but this week more so than others because of the opposing quarterback and Kirk Cousins. And, of course, Kirk Cousins was a free agent this past March. And if you recall, a lot of Jets fans monitoring the free agent market, and so was someone in Southern California, 20 years old, finishing up classes at USC. That would be Jets quarterback Sam Darnold. Earlier this week, he spoke to the media and said, yeah, I was watching the free agent market because I was definitely paying attention to Kirk, what he was doing free agent-wise, and trying to understand what team I could maybe go to, who might pick me up. I was definitely thinking about all that during the draft process, but at the same time, I knew I didn't have any control over it.
Yeah, he didn't have any control over it, but it's interesting how all the dominoes fell. The Jets made a run at Kirk Cousins, and we know what happened early in free agency. He signs with the Minnesota Vikings, and then the green and white quickly pivoted. And Todd Bowles said it all along. We got plans A, we got plans B, we got plan C, and so forth. So Mike Maccagnan, a couple days after Kirk Cousins agreed to terms with the Minnesota Vikings, he brings back Josh McCown. He also signed Teddy Bridgewater in free agency, and then he makes the trade on March 17th, moving up from 6 to number 3 in order to get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. At that time, I wonder if Maccagnan was thinking, we got a shot here at Sam Darnold, but the way the dominoes fell in the draft, as we all know, Baker Mayfield goes 1, Saquon Barkley goes 2, and the Jets ultimately land with Sam Darnold, who has started the first 6 games for the New York Jets, and I think he's gotten better each and every week. So you can make the argument that both teams did well here in the spring.
Sam Darnold is someone that we're going to dive into a little bit later. Of course, it wouldn't be a game preview show without talking about Sam Darnold, but just to give a glimpse of how quickly things change in the NFL, I mean, Kirk Cousins officially signed his deal March 15th. Before he officially signed, Mike Maccagnan had re-signed Josh McCown, had signed Teddy Bridgewater, and 2 days after Kirk Cousins officially signed, he moves up from 6 to 3 on the morning of St. Patrick's Day. But let's hear from the GM himself, Mike Maccagnan, on a glimpse of what went behind the free agency process.
Going into free agency, we knew there's a bit of an aberration in the market when Kirk actually made it to the market. We went very aggressively and to try to sign him. We thought it was an opportunity to take advantage of in the market in terms of, a player of that caliber at that position being available in free agency. Until we got the phone call from the agent, which sort of advised us we were going to be the second visit, not the first visit in free agency. Then we realized, we had to act quickly. We just sort of pivoted and continued on with our plan, which always had in place, was to turn around and facilitate the trade. That was always kind of our plan all along, and that's how we executed it.
Welcome back to Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen talking Jets-Vikings in Week 7. Okay, before we dive into Sam Darnold here, it is time for Inside the Game with EA. Again, here is the question.
No, here we go.
You ready?
Yeah.
Since 2015, running back Isaiah Crowell has 9 plays of 50 or more yards, the most among NFL running backs. Who are the following 3 players? EA is going to answer later on in the show, but if you have your answer, make sure to comment. But now it's time to talk about Sam Darnold, because this week is a very interesting week considering Quincy Enunwa already declared out with an ankle sprain, and Terrell Pryor has not practiced yet this week. Todd Bowles will give the final injury report later on today, but if Darnold does not have Quincy Enunwa or Jermaine Kearse, how do you envision this offense looking Sunday?
Well, what I've been really impressed with in regards to Sam Darnold is that he's getting different people involved each week. A couple weeks ago, it was Robbie Anderson against the Denver Broncos as they go up top for a couple touchdowns, 3 connections for 123 yards. The following week, when Enunwa goes down against the Indianapolis Colts, we see Jermaine Kearse have 9 receptions. That tied a career high. Terrell Pryor, who you just mentioned, dealing with the groin injury. We'll have to find out if he'll be available for the Jets this week. He had 5 catches. And the other thing Darnold did last week that I'm very interested to see if the Jets can build on here in Week 7 and beyond is he got the tight ends involved. People, I think, when they look at the Jets offense, are sleeping on the Jets tight ends. Chris Herndon, 2 catches last week and a touchdown. Neil Sterling, back from the concussion, had a pair of catches as well. Sam Darnold loves his tight ends. I asked him about it in the media availability this week. He said, Herndon was my roommate during the spring, so you know those guys have a good relationship. So what Darnold has been able to do here that is very pivotal for the young passer is he's just not locking in on one person. He's moving his eyes, and he's taking what the defense gives him, and whoever's open, he's delivering the football.
I'm glad you mentioned the tight ends because I'm very curious to see what Neil Sterling does with Enunwa down, potentially Pryor, because Neil Sterling entered this league as a receiver out of Monmouth. He was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, but over the past 3 weeks, the tight ends have totaled 11 receptions, 125 yards, and 2 scores since Week 4. So I'm curious to see what happens there. But regardless, is the Jets clearly have a recipe for success in their 3 victories in Week 1, 5, and 6. They have pounded the rock, and they have not abandoned the running game.
No, they haven't. I mean, when you look at the Jets' victories, and I think we have a great stat about that, they've averaged 200 yards on the ground in their wins. And what Jeremy Bates likes about these Jets tight ends is they can do it all. He can line them up at the fullback position. He can move them outside at wide receiver, and of course they can stay in line and block at tight end but get out in the pass game as well. When the Jets have been playing winning football offensively, you're seeing a lot of balance from this team, and against the Minnesota Vikings, you're going to need that balance coming up on Sunday.
Sam Darnold in home victories, you can see it here. This is the average of the Jets play in their wins and their losses. Darnold only averages 24 attempts. He's completing 69% of his passes for 225 yards. But, again, the staggering numbers here is in the run game. And the Jets average 5.4 yards per carry in victories and average 2.9 yards per carry in losses.
And the attempts, Greens. They're almost doubling in attempts as we get attacked by the killer bees out here. But the Jets in the wins have averaged nearly 40 attempts a game on the ground. So that means they're getting positive yardage on first and second downs, and they're putting their rookie quarterback into third and manageables. And the other thing you do when you control the game on the ground, you keep your defense off the field. And it's also demoralizing for the opposing defense when a team is pounding at you and pounding at you. And, oh, by the way, got to talk about the offensive line a little bit. They're really coming in their own.
The offensive line are the tone setters of this team, and a lot of the O-line have said the offense goes how we go. Yeah. And the past couple weeks, the Jets' offensive line has performed well. And, of course, Week 5, the anomaly because Isaiah Crowell had a career day. But regardless, as you see the amount of attempts that you pointed out, and I think that's what the Jets will need to do moving forward against this Minnesota Vikings defense. But let's move to this Vikings secondary because coming into this year, this defense was highly regarded as a top 5 defense with Harrison Smith at safety, Xavier Rhodes at corner. But this is a unit that has allowed a lot of 40-plus yard plays. They're 4th in the NFL. Yeah, 28th in the NFL in 40 or plus yards plays given.
But you just mentioned a couple of those guys, and they do have players in the secondary. Trey Waynes is another big name back there. Zendejo is dealing with an injury right now. We'll have to see if he's active for them on Sunday. But, yes, early on this season, in terms of explosion plays in the pass game, the Vikings have surrendered those. They've cut them down of late, especially against Arizona last week. But the Cardinals are a struggling team, as we saw last night against the Denver Broncos. And I know this show is not about the Arizona Cardinals, but yes, the Vikings have been susceptible to the big play in the passing game here early in the season.
Okay, and this wouldn't be a Jets-Vikings preview if we didn't talk about the Vikings' explosive wide receiver duo. That's Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs.
Thielen is off to an amazing start. You see him, he's leading the NFL in terms of yards with 712, but he's went over 100 yards in every game this season. Stephon Diggs, 40 receptions, 435 yards himself. As Todd Bowles said, you have 2 number 1 receivers that Kirk Cousins is thrown to. It was funny. In yesterday's press conference, Todd Bowles was asked about how do you I'm sorry about that. A bee was attacking me.
I thought this is not bee weather. Like, well, I'm in a pea coat and there's still bees out here. This is ridiculous.
So Todd Bowles was asked about how teams are covering Adam Thielen this year. He said they're nuts. So the Jets definitely have a big-time challenge on their hands. You can make the argument that this is the best wide receiver duo in the National Football League. It's not just those 2 guys. His Cousins got Kyle Rudolph and Laquan Treadwell. It's nice to have him as a luxury at the number 3 wide receiver position.
Kirk Cousins is completing over 71% of his passes, and Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs obviously play a big part of that. And they could be going up against a depleted Jets secondary without Trumaine Johnson, without Buster Screen. Again, Todd Bowles will give the injury report later today in practice.
Marcus May is definitely out.
And Marcus May is absolutely out. So whether it's Doug Middleton or Terrence Brooks that takes his place, we'll see. But earlier this week, Casey Rogers, yes, Jets defensive coordinator Casey Rogers, he's back in the building. We'll see if he calls plays on Sunday. He's going to be eased into his role. He talked to the media in his normal spot after missing 2 weeks, and he talked about this explosive Vikings duo.
Casey, how big of a challenge is it to stop those 2 receivers?
Those guys are very talented. Then when you throw in the quarterback who can make all the throws, then they got a tight end. Then you throw in 2 running backs. It's challenging, and then they really know how to get open. And they extending drives on 3rd down. It'll be a great challenge for us.
What does it tell you about a quarterback like Cousins, who's under pressure a lot and gets hit a lot, but also often makes the throw in spite of that? What does that tell you about him?
He is very resilient, and he's tough and mentally tough. You know, this guy's been in some situations and where you're sitting there locking, but he's making the throws, making good decisions and everything. He's kind of makes their offense go.
Welcome back to Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen live here in Florham Park on Friday as the Jets are set to practice in a couple minutes in their last practice before taking on the Minnesota Vikings in Week 7. So, okay, it is time for Inside the Game with EA. Again, here is the question. Since 2015, running back Isaiah Crowell has 9 plays of 50 or more yards, the most among NFL running backs. Who are the following 3 players, Eric Allen?
This is a tough question. You guys keep on coming up with tough questions every week. This is ridiculous. How about, let's go down to New Orleans. I always think about Drew Brees in that passing game, but especially last year, I thought Mark Ingram got off on the ground with a number of long gainers.
Mark Ingram is the 2nd guy on that list. So you have Isaiah Crowell, then Mark Ingram. I didn't think you were going to get that one.
Okay,
all right.
Okay.
That's good.
Let's go out west to L.A., shall we?
Yeah, yes, we shall.
Let's talk about Hollywood. Let's talk about the Rams. Let's talk about one of the NFL's great players right now. And let's talk about Todd Gurley.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Okay, he is hot out here. Maybe that's why the bees are swarming.
If EA gets his next one, I know he looked at the answers.
Oh, I don't like this accusation, and he already put it on the screen, so I'll take Jordan Howard out of the Chicago Bears.
Was that going to be your answer?
No.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe Jay Ajayi. How about that?
Hey, Jay Ajayi was tied for 5th.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's
our producer out here, Chris Robbins, is giving us the rap. Okay, he keeps on telling us we like this question, Ups. Come on.
All right, it's time for the 2-minute drill. Again, Jets-Vikings Sunday, 1 p.m. EA. The Jets could be down a pair of corners, Trumaine Johnson and Buster Skrine. It's next man up in the secondary.
Yeah, it has to be. And the Jets are going to be without Marcus May, who's out with a thumb injury. So that means either Terrence Brooks or Doug Middleton will take his spot alongside Jamal Adams. Middleton started the Jets' first 3 games this season. The Jets secondary has been opportunistic this year. They're going to need contributions from everybody. And Middleton told me this week that Kirk Cousins will try to fit it in there and take chances, so there will be plays to be made.
On the offensive side of the ball, the Jets could also be without a pair of receivers, definitely without Quincy Enunwa, and could be without Terrell Pryor as well.
Yeah, that's right. But Sam Darnold keeps on going to different players each week. A couple weeks ago against the Broncos, it was Robbie Anderson. Last week against the Colts, it was Jermaine Kearse. And the tight ends as well. He is getting the ball to everybody. So the Jets have to keep that balance going offensively, and Darnold has to do what he's been doing. Quiet feet in the pocket, staying in there, taking what the defense gives him. The Jets are going to spread the ball around, and Darnold's getting comfortable. Watch out for the tight ends. Chris Herndon is emerging for the green and white right now.
Regardless of injury, the Jets are going to have to win in the trenches in order to win on Sunday.
Yeah, the Minnesota Vikings defense leads the National Football League in terms of getting off the field on 3rd down. So the Jets, in their run games, in their wins this year in 2018, they have run the ball on average for 200 yards and close to 40 carries. That gets your young quarterback, Sam Darnold, into 3rd and manageables. Conversely, on the other side of the ball, the Vikings have struggled to run the football. The Jets have some clear matchup advantages up front with their offensive line, with their defensive line against the Vikings offensive line. Kirk Cousins has been sacked 18 times this season, and he's also had a number of balls batted down at the line of scrimmage. The Jets have to get after Cousins early and often and make sure that Minnesota is one-dimensional. Don't let them get that run game going.
Again, Jets-Vikings, 1 p.m. MetLife Stadium this weekend for Week 7. Make sure to get your bobblehead, and you got to make sure to watch Pregame Central with Eric Allen and Anthony Beck. That's Sunday at 11 o'clock. And before we let you go here, again, this is the moment you've been waiting for. The Sam Darnold miking, the clip that we're going to leave you with, but that's all we have from practice today, presented by SiriusXM. Eric Allen, Ethan Greenberg, thanks for watching.
Let's go, Will. Another drive, another good drive here. Here we go, here we go. Here we go, set.
22 seconds left, no timeouts. Darnold in the shotgun. Darnold takes the snap, looking back, looking. He'll throw left. He's got Robbie Anderson and gets out of bounds to stop the clock with 18 seconds in the half.
Hey, we got no timeout. Get out of bounds if you catch the ball. If we don't, we got to go up and spike it.
Darnold in the shotgun, drops back, looking. He throws over the middle to Jermaine Kearse. He's got him.
Hey, clock. Jets
will have to hurry to line up and snap the ball. Plenty of time, and they should be able to do this. And Darnold takes the snap and pounds it to the ground. 3 seconds still remaining, and the Jets will trot out Jason Myers for a field goal to end the half. Myers right between the hashes, spots. Kick is good.
Good job, Jason. You're on fire, bro. You gotta start scoring touchdowns, though. Yeah. Love you, Jason, but you gotta score touchdowns.